This little rabbit was used as an experiment by humans. His legs were chopped off, and now he sat there, observing the raccoon who had just been thrown into the cell with him. He tried to comfort the raccoon with kind words. The raccoon looked back with gratitude in his eyes. Humans had altered the bodies of animals for their evolutionary experiments. These animals were equipped with various mechanical parts embedded in their bodies. The raccoon was shaking with fear. Seeing this, the walrus tried to reassure him, saying, "Don't be scared, we won't hurt you." Meanwhile, the sea otter gently picked up a tissue and wiped the raccoon's wounds. This act of kindness warmed the raccoon's heart, and soon, they became good friends. They spent their days playing together in the cell, staring up at the ceiling, both longing for freedom. The sea otter often fantasized about what life would be like if they could escape, but to do that, they would need names. They were all given identification numbers, but the sea otter decided to pick a beautiful name for himself, Lila. The walrus, with his 2 large tusks, named himself Big Tusk. As for the rabbit, he was simpler and named himself simply Bored, because he often lay flat on the floor. One day, when they asked the raccoon for his name, he shared his wish with them. "I want to fly a rocket and take you all the way from here, up into the sky." They began calling him Rocket. That day, Rocket was taken to the lab by the facility's leader to witness the evolutionary process. They placed a turtle into the experimental chamber and started the machine. The turtle's body slowly began to swell, and in a short time, it completed the evolutionary process that would normally take thousands of years. It transformed from an animal into a human-like figure, but it became incredibly aggressive. This was a problem. What they needed was a peaceful result, not a violent one. The failed experiments were always destroyed by fire. Rocket, with his sharp intelligence, quickly realized what had gone wrong. The failure was due to the toxic white smoke that leaked from the experiment chamber. Once they stopped the smoke, the experiment worked perfectly. The animals no longer became violent. They finally got the result they had been hoping for. The leader of the facility was stunned. He couldn't believe that the raccoon understood the very issue that had baffled them. Curious to understand how the raccoon had come to this conclusion, they decided to dissect his brain and study it. Back in the cell, Rocket gathered his friends and told them the grim news. Their lives were about to end, and they needed to escape now. Quickly, he gathered some parts from the cell and pieced them together into an access card. He told his friends, "We just need to reach the exit, and then we can fly to freedom in a spaceship." Bored excitedly spun in circles at the thought of freedom. Rocket had become their last hope. He swiped the access card, unlocking Lila's cell. The two of them embraced in a joyful moment, until a gunshot shattered the air, and their joy quickly turned to despair. The highest authorities had already anticipated Rocket's attempt to escape. And even in her final moments, she longed for freedom. Watching his friend's life fade away, Rocket let out a heart-wrenching scream. Bored shouted for Rocket to escape, but he froze, unable to move. The villain stood nearby, mocking them. In a burst of fury, Rocket lunged at the villain, pinning him down and tearing his face apart with his claws. As the guards arrived, Rocket grabbed the gun and shot them down. But when he went to use the access card to save the others, he found that 2 of his friends had already been gunned down. Heartbroken and devastated, Rocket realized all his friends had died before his eyes. He carried their dreams with him as he escaped the cell, evading pursuers at every turn. He reached the spaceship and, with all his might, jumped into the cockpit. He quickly started the engines and flew off into the sky, finally escaping the nightmare they had all been trapped in.